R-rated toys. Right away, some of you read the title of this episode, and you've just got the wrong idea. We're not talking about talking about adult toys. No, that would be a different show. What we're going to be talking about today are toys that are based around R-rated properties. And if that doesn't make sense, stick around. I promise it will. Welcome everyone to Rewind Toys. All right, so let me try to explain. Well, I want to talk about kids' toys that were created based around R-rated films. In theory, these toys made little sense. I mean, these films weren't geared towards children, but we're talking about the 80s and the 90s, and back then we all watched pretty much everything. I was 11 years old when I first saw The Exorcist. I'm not saying I should have watched it. I definitely should not have. I mean, technically, my parents didn't know. I mean, I snuck and watched it, but, it's still. So we did an episode on Grail toys that you guys seemed to like it. And in that one, we mentioned the 1978 Alien action figure. So we won't go in depth here on that one. But man, what a cool looking toy that thing was. However, in 1986, Aliens was released. And wouldn't you know it, someone saw fit to create a series of action figures, and that someone was Kenner. So in all fairness, they didn't release those figures in 1986. They actually didn't come out until 1992, and they were originally created because, I want to cut in here for a minute. It's important to understand that quite a few of the lines we'll be discussing today actually had cartoons that were, again, based on R-rated films. I don't get it, but sometimes those films were raunchy. Often those films were violent. It's really an odd choice, and on a more politically based show, one might suggest it says a lot about our obsession with making money, often to the detriment of others, including children. But we are not that show. We are a toy show, and right or wrong, we actually loved these action figures. They didn't actually come out until 1992, and they were originally created because a cartoon series was in the works. The series, titled Operation Aliens, was ultimately canceled by 20th Century Fox, partially because it was a little too dark for kids. Also, there were new regulations in place for children's television, which would have made it difficult to get this one pushed through. Still, the figures had been designed, so why not go ahead and release them? The figures came with many Dark Horse comics, and that helped tell the story. And while some familiar characters from the film were involved, most were changed significantly to avoid paying for the actors' likenesses. From 1992 through 1998, there were 4 series. There was a KB exclusive run, and also a spin-off series called Hive Wars. And we received characters like Ripley, Hicks, Bishop, Apone, and Drake in the US. There were aliens. There was the Bull Alien, Scorpion, Gorilla, Rhino, Snake, and Mantis, as well as the Queen Facehugger and the Flying Queen. Now overseas, they would receive more Marines, Vasquez, O'Malley, and Hudson. But the Marines weren't selling well in the US, so alas, they were exceptionally rare here. But those aliens, well, we got a ton of those. There were panthers and crabs and arachnids, and there were vehicles like the Power Loader, the Evac Fighter, and the Stinger XT-37, also the Hover Tread. We also got to see the Queen Hive playset. That KB line had repaints of the Marines packaged with aliens, and the Hive Wars offered new original figures: Acid Alien, Hive Warrior, Night Recon Predator, Warrior Predator, an android-looking Corporal Hicks, and Integer 3. Honestly, the Aliens figures are really cool. I like these a lot. I have a few in my collection. I wouldn't mind more, though. In a very similar sort of fashion, Kenner also released a line of figures in 1993 based off the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger film Predator. Now, these were released mainly for 2 reasons. The first reason was, those alien toys from Kenner were popular. And the second reason was because the comic book from Dark Horse Comics, Alien vs. Predator, was hugely successful. The line debuted with an Aliens vs. Predator 2-pack with the Renegade Predator and a Warrior Alien, well, also a Dark Horse comic. That did really well, and so they would go on to release 3 series of figures with a few variants tossed in. There was the Clan Leader, Stalker, one of my favorites, it glowed in the dark. There was Cracked Tusk, Scavenger, Lava Planet, Blade Fighter. This one had a cool vehicle with it. There was Night Storm, and the Electronic Laser Shot. Now, Series 3 was mostly just repainted versions of the first series. Now, these figures looked great and offered some really cool accessories, but it's because of those accessories that finding them loose and complete is fairly difficult. But you can find them, and even carded, they're out there. So, if you're into the Predator line, you should be able to find some. I see them all the time. So we might as well stick with Kenner. This time we're going to jump to 1991 with a line based off the mega hit film Terminator 2. So we had Predators and Aliens and T2. Kenner kind of had this weird Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jim Cameron thing happening, didn't they? They all sort of tie in. And they all make sense together. Terminator 2 exploded at the box office, and in all fairness, it's probably amongst the tamest of the films we're going to be covering. I actually didn't know it was R-rated until I did a little research. This one wasn't based around a cartoon or a comic book at all. That isn't to say there wasn't a comic. This toy line just wasn't based on that comic. No, this toy line was directly tied to the film. Kenner gave to us Battle Damaged Terminator, Meltdown Terminator, Techno Punch, Secret Weapon, and overly thick, this guy is just, he's massively thick, Blaster T-1000. There was the Exploding T-1000, Endoglow Terminator. We had a John Connor figure, White Hot T-1000. That sounds way dirtier than I think it meant to sound, but There were also a few more, including a larger Ultimate Terminator figure. We also had the 3D series, Heavy Metal Cycle, Mobile Assault Vehicle, and the awesome Bioflesh Regenerator. They would then follow this up with the Future War series. Now, these toys offered fun action gimmicks and cool features, and the line was extremely popular with fans, a lot of which were kids, including yours truly. I loved the movie, and the action figures, they really did just sort of make sense. When no one was thinking, these are R-rated, it was just, but we'll get to some that are probably a little worse off. Hey guys, what's not R-rated fun? It's adult fun, but it's not R-rated. This show. If you haven't done so, please take just a moment, go down and subscribe, maybe hit that thumbs up button. Look, it's completely free to do it. It only takes a couple of seconds. It really helps me out. Maybe some of you don't like me, but hopefully you do. I think you guys are great. I think you guys are awesome. So please do me a favor, hit subscribe. All right, to me, this is where things get really weird, right? So it's 1987, and there's this awesome movie that comes out, directed by Paul Verhoeven. It tells the story of this cop. He's gunned down in the line of duty. He has his hand blown off, multiple hits to the chest. Then he takes one right to the head. He was then experimented on, and what was left of him was encased inside a metal robot frame. We would then see him hunt down and execute the guys who did all of this to him, as well as a few others. He would uncover some corruption in the police force and take out those guys too. There was murder, there was sex, there was cocaine, there was a guy doused in toxic waste who was hit by a car and his head exploded on the windshield. It was just gore and green stuff everywhere, and who has quickly become the king of the R-rated toys, Kenner. They saw this movie and they thought, yeah, we're making an action figure out of that. All right, so that's not entirely true. There was an actual RoboCop cartoon released by Marvel Productions, and while it kept some features of the film, it actually toned it down. Quite a bit. It had to, right? Okay, toned it down a little. There's nothing you could do to take away the fact that he was murdered and then put into a robot body. That's gonna exist, right? The bullets were exchanged for lasers, and the sex and drugs were left out, for the kids. And then there was actually a TV series, RoboCop and the Ultra Police. The toys were actually based more on that live action series than they were on the cartoons. So, this one wasn't even a cartoon. What's funny, though, the cartoon went lasers, but the toys had a feature that allowed you to load caps into the back of them to simulate gunfire. So what? There were the good guys, that was the Ultra Police, and the bad guys, the Vandals. We had RoboCop, Officer Lewis, Sergeant Reed, Ace Jackson, Wheels Wilson, and Birdman Barnes. For the Vandals, we had Headhunter, Nitro, and Dr. McNamara. We got the Robo 1 car, the Robo Cycle, and the Robo Jailer. Also the awesome Ed 260. When I saw this, I remember back in the day I got confused because in the movie it's Ed 209, and this pretty much looks exactly like the Ed 209, but I found out that it was supposed to be an updated version, like we were supposed to be a little bit ahead, so now we're to the 260. I guess there were 51 other, I don't know. The figures had small accessories like helmets and guns that were quite often lost and often broken, and loose ones today complete. I mean, if you can find them with their guns and helmets and everything, you're looking at $30 to $40. And for the final line today, we're going to be talking about a series of clearly adult-oriented films that somehow permeated the youth of America. I mean, we had squirt guns with his name emblazoned across it. We did that episode. You should go back and look for it. It was a really, really cool episode. People seem to like it. Heck, man, a lot of us as kids, we bought actual survival knives like that looked like this guy's. Even like I had one. I had one as a kid. It was a real knife. You could screw up the back. Had all this cool stuff in it. They took a violent Vietnam War-based adult-oriented film and they created a kid's cartoon just so they could sell toys. I mean, that's why they did it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Rambo, The Force of Freedom, based off the film Rambo First Blood Part 2. Rambo First Blood Part 2 was released in 1985, and it made bank at the box office. So why not turn it into a cartoon? Now, the original film creators, also Sylvester Stallone, they had absolutely nothing to do with the cartoon. And to be completely fair about it, the cartoon made zero references to Vietnam or POWs and was sort of a G.I. Joe ripoff kind of thing. And it did okay. There were 65 episodes of the Rambo cartoon. Coleco, the toy manufacturer who gave us the figures, dropped $15 million into the cartoon series and then delivered unto us action figures with soft heads and hard bodies. Ooh la la. The toys, which were around 6.5 inches in scale, came with detailed military-accurate weapons and spring or wind-up mechanisms. There were 12 figures, 2 of which were versions of Rambo. There was Rambo and then Firepower Rambo. We, of course, had Troutman. There was Cat, Turbo, and White Dragon. Now, in the bad guy team, there was General Warhawk, Nomad, Gripper, Sergeant Havoc, Mad Dog, and the Black Dragon Ninja. There were also 4 vehicles: Whiplash, Wolverine, Sky Sweeper, and Attack Chopper. And then we had the Savage Headquarter playset. Now, this was Series 1. Series 2 had all the originals, besides Nomad, who for whatever reason they decided to leave out, along with a few new figures, Chief and Touchdown Jackson. There was Snakebite, X-Ray, Dr. Hyde, and a whip-action Warhawk. There were also like a number of smaller weapon sets that you could buy that actually went along with this. Those are really cool and kind of sought after today. So, are these toys rare? I mean, a little. Especially carded or specific characters like Touchdown Jackson or Chief Ka. Another cool bit is that even though the Coleco line ended sort of early here in the US, international companies like Josca out of Argentina kept producing them, and that meant variants and paint schemes like the Desert Brigade. These are extremely sought after by collectors because of how scarce they are in the United States. So for people who collect Rambo toys, these are the ones they're really looking for. And there, my friends, we have it. That is part 1 of our R-rated action figure series. We're going to release a part 2 somewhere down the road. I already have some lined up. So if you were expecting a certain something, it might happen in that episode. So just keep a lookout. Real quick, We're going to be releasing an episode here probably next week where we're going to pit 5 80s action figure lines up against one another. And we chose our winner overall. We have a set of criteria. We'll tell you all about it. But we have a set of criteria that we took these 5 lines and we chose a winner based off of it. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find more by going to our Facebook page. There it is. Or by going to our Instagram page. There it is. We're going to put something up on both of those so you can give your thoughts and be heard. So if you want to, head over, give us your thoughts. But something I really want to stress, something to remember here. I get mostly cool comments. Most of you guys are awesome. Occasionally we get a rude comment. I mean, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. Most of those we just don't keep up. Unless they say something valid, we just don't keep them up. But for this, I know a lot of people have opinions. People tend to get heated about stuff. Guys, this is all for fun. We don't need anyone dropping rude or hateful comments. That's not why we're here. There's enough of that in the world. We're here to talk about and play with cool toys. Okay, we don't usually play with them, but we do talk about them. So we want your opinion, but please be nice. Everyone be nice to one another. With that being said, I thank all of you for watching. I hope to have you back here next week. And until then, when it comes to these insane, somewhat inappropriate, but still awesome action figures, the hunt, still half the fun.